Good evening, friends. Thank you for joining Candid Veena every evening to follow what's happening in India and abroad. And thank you for sending me your useful comments and suggestions. If you believe in this channel, do hit the like button, share with friends, and spread the message. Our only mission is to bring you the truth and both sides of the story. Thank you for your support. We have MR Venkatesh back with us. Welcome, MR.
Namaste, namaste.
Yeah. So, uh, first of all, Emma, before we get into the topics that we were planning to discuss, do tell us about what's happening to the newspaper started by the Gandhis. What is the
I don't
position?
know.
Because
I
no
don't
media is
know.
talking about it.
Yeah, in fact, last Thursday, I think a couple of days back, we got a order of the Income Tax Appellate Tribunal, which has upheld the order of the Income Tax assessing officer, who has gone on to tax the Gandhis, the Young India, which is the company owned by the Gandhis, the extent of 441 crores or something like that. But leave aside the taxation part, the more important thing is that whatever was filed by Dr. Swami and Gopi Krishnan in the trial court seems to be vindicated on facts. So, as you know, Income Tax Tribunal is the last fact finding body insofar as the income tax is concerned. Other cases, other laws, you go on an appeal, you can go on appeal on facts and other things. But income tax is a very peculiar law. The facts come to an end with the tribunal, and only on a matter of questions of law you go under 260 capital A and 260 capital B to the High Court. So, the limited point I would like to stress here is that the Gandhis have been nailed as far as the facts are concerned. The facts are that a 90 crore loan owed by AJL to the Congress party was transferred to the hands of Young India for a paltry sum of 50 lakhs. And Young India in turn borrowed 50 lakhs from a shady Dotex company and paid that 50 lakhs to the Congress party. And for the loan part of it, which it actually took over from Congress party, it got shares allotted in the name of Young India. And Young India is the company which actually now owns 99% in fact of the shares of AJL. And AJL owns somewhere around hundreds of crores of property. And the income tax has come to a finding that this is done in violation of the Income Tax Act, and the Young India has to pay tax on this amount of 441 crores. Now, since 2011 or 2012, this clock will start ticking, and they have to pay the interest, they have to pay the tax, they have to pay the penalty, and there is also a good possibility that under 277(6) capital C of the Income Tax Act, they may have to face prosecution. So, long and short of it is that Gandhis are facing the dead end. As I'm not talking politically, I'm talking
Sani
about
Dasha.
income tax. Sani Dasha. I think the Jupiter movement is creating a lot of Guru Dasha is creating a lot of problems for them. But what is surprising, Meena, is the mainstream media is silent. People who say Modi does not answer questions
Absolutely.
are completely, silent about questioning Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi about this order. I can understand that. Latvian's media is basically a cheerleader of the Congress. I can understand. But there is a section of media which owes its allegiance to its rise and working to the BJP. That media is also silent. I can even accept that. Okay, chalo, they have also not understood the facts. But the BJP spokesperson are also silent. The BJP spokesperson, who otherwise are so act with so much of dexterity and alacrity in attacking Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi in every channel day in and day out, have not even tweeted about it, have not spoken about it, have not raised this issue in various channels. And there is a stunning silence about this, and many people are wondering and asking, is this the national halal matter? Yes, it is the national alarm matter. It does it involve the Gandhis? Yes, it involves the mother and the son, namely Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi. Does it involve Young India? Yes, involves Young India. It is the company in which the mother and son own 76% share. Does it involve the Congress party? Yes, it involves the Congress party. Does it involve AJL? Yes, Associated Journal Limited. Yes. Is it the same AJL which was started by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru and Purushottam Das Standard? Yes, it is the same AJL. So there is so much of information deficit, and I don't know why the BJP is silent about it. I don't know why people I don't know why the Aam Aadmi Party is silent about it. I don't know why people who say that we will fight the Congress and the BJP simultaneously are silent about it. I don't know why there is a thundering, deafening silence across the political spectrum on these matters. So, on that note, I think we will stop here on the National Herald unless you have got some specific questions.
Yes. So Sharmila says could be strategic. Action would be better than words.
See, action could be better than words. I understand, Sharmila, but there are certain things this government has gone on tom-tommed and embarrassing, and this is a very good opportunity because it's a huge brownie point.
Yeah.
Unless you are ashamed and embarrassed about the Congress's downfall,
Yeah.
which cannot be the case. So, unless we are missing something far too obvious, I do not know why the BJP is silent, why the people who
Yeah, but this is the time
are
that they
opposed to
should make it a big noise. Yeah.
this is after all come through a process of court and a 570-page order. It is not a single page, 2-page order. They have gone. There are 12 grounds taken out by the Congress lawyers. Each one has been dealt meticulously. 1 or 2 grounds have been referred back to the assisting officer. That is immaterial. But the major thing is that Congress has been caught with its hand in the cookie jar by the income tax department, and they have to face chin music for this for the next few years. And I am very sure, if there is going to be one single judge who will listen to Dr. Swami's petition in the trial court patiently, now that the facts have been cleared by the income tax tribunal, I think this matter can be heard within 2 or 3 days and the sentence can be passed by the trial court. That is the stage on which we are. But whether a judge will listen to this for 3 days, whether the Congress party's lawyers will be smart enough, will be playing by the rule book and throwing various rules to see that this whole process is timid, whether the judicial process is delayed, that is a billion-dollar question. But left to honest judge, theoretically, it should take not more than 3 or 4 days for a case to come to a closure.
Yeah. So Ned is asking, is there anything brewing against AAP also?
Now, I am not privy to what is brewing against AAP and Sharp and
They
other
have
things.
some big scam under their show.
See,
Yeah.
See, Aam Aadmi Party, by its very construct, lends itself to scams and various other shenanigans. So it is genetically suited to these things. You can't have a lion and say that it will be a herbivorous or a vegetarian lion. It is an oxymoron. So
Yeah.
you have a Aam Aadmi Party that would definitely do something. And I don't have any papers. Frankly, I don't know anything about Aam Aadmi Party. But anything can happen anytime in politics.
Yeah. So in the case of Maharashtra, see what Fadnavis is saying is that Uddhav is not sacking Nawab Malik to appease a specific community, and he said that the state's government's support for Minister Nawab Malik, who has been arrested by the ED in connection with money laundering case, is unfortunate, and reiterated that Malik should resign. Now, not only that, Mahavikas Aghadi is now playing 2020 matches in corruption, he says. The BJP's leader of opposition, Fadnavis, on Monday dubbed the ruling tripartite, which is Mahavikas Aghadi, government of the Shiv Sena, the NCP, and the Congress, as corrupt and oppressive. He said these parties had formed the government by deception and that there was a 2020 match on between them as to who was more corrupt than the other two. Speaking in Gadchiroli district when he launched the BJP's Jan Akrosh Morcha against the MVA, he said he accused the MVA of only looking after the interests of builders rather than considering the plight of farmers. Instead of helping farmers by waiving electricity bills on tribal people, the government helped the liquor barons during pandemic by waiving 50% of their license fees. But the electricity bills of the farmers of Gadchiroli, Chandrapur, Nandurbar districts have not been waived, he said, claiming that no chief minister visited the Naxalite hit Gadchiroli as much as he had, and that no party but the BJP had the interests of the locals at their heart. He accused the MVA of being at the mercy of builders, and he called it a 2020 match of corruption currently ongoing in this government.
Meena, I don't understand what is this 2020 got to do with corruption. Okay, I can understand. Is he trying to say that it is for a limited period, or is it for? I don't understand
Yeah,
the analogy.
limited
What is
period,
the
yes.
20?
Yeah,
Okay, so they are trying to hit it fast, and
yeah, and
because the
make
days are
amass
numbered.
as much money as possible.
Because the days are numbered.
Yeah,
Okay. Now come to the issue of first thing is you talked about Nawab Malik.
yeah,
Uh, yeah, I think Nawab Malik continues to be in the cabinet. It is a very, very peculiar thing that the minister doesn't resign, and there are people who don't want him to be dismissed. And the constitution basically does not see. There is something called the letter of the constitution. There is something called the spirit of the constitution. You can't be administrating from inside the prison. Though I am told he has been divested of all portfolios,
yes,
he is only a minister without portfolio. But even then, the perks of ministership will be associated for a person who is facing the long arms of law. I think this is disgusting to say the least. The governor must advise and say that he cannot retain this gentleman to be on the cabinet. Must strongly advise the chief minister to drop Nawab Malik. But there's a big hitch here. Nawab Malik is not only a representative of the Muslim community in Maharashtra. He is also known to have long connections with Ibrahim Dawood and others, for which he is facing the music now with the ED. Now, rightly or wrongly, that's entirely a different thing. That is not a matter that I'm going to speculate on. But he has been long rumored. Now, everybody knew it till only 3 or 4 people who did not know about this was the ED, the CBI, the courts, and last month they all come to know about it. So they are doing what we all know for the last 20 years. So I would not shed a tear for the incarceration of Mr. Nawab Malik. It has come 20 years too late. That the law is taking its own sweet time, but it is taking a process, and he has to undergo the process. Good luck to him, and Godspeed to the ED officers and the ED prosecutors. I hope the matter will come to a quiet. But the political dimension is very obvious. I'm making it abundantly clear. He is still retained in the cabinet because of his communitarian links, not for anything else. Now, the third thing was about Fadnavis's comment. Now, Fadnavis rightly points out that yes, liquor license fees were cut by 50%, whereas the electricity of farmers continue to be levied and so on and so forth. This is the lament of the opposition. But I think the far more serious charge that he is bringing in is that of builders' lobby having nexus with this present government. This government in Maharashtra is for builders, of builders, for builders, by builders, divided by builders, multiplied by builders, subtracted by builders, added by builders, rooted by builders, cube raised to the power of 3, 4, 7 by builders. Everything is for builders. Okay. So I am very clear that there is a huge scam in Maharashtra brewing on the redevelopment plans. Several buildings, several people have been pushed out of the slums that they are occupying, but the redevelopment plan does not help them to be rehabilitated in the way the schemes are drafted. And I have also got some documents which suggest that the Mahavikas Aghadi government is playing footsie with these people and leading them to a garden path and giving them nothing. I hope somebody will go to the courts and the courts will look into these things with greater alacrity and do it. And I would only wish Mr. Fadnavis should not only give sermons through the press, He must take the matters head on to the courts also.
Yeah.
He must walk the talk. It is very important that as a ruler, as an opposition party, he must enlighten the people. That's absolutely in order and perfect. But he must take the next concrete step. He knows the nexus between the various people. He knows the nexus between the builders and the government. He knows the officials who are playing ball in this. He must take it to the court on quite a few schemes that have been done, which are tailor-made schemes for certain people. And he must ensure that the law is set in motion. As an opposition leader, he must not only be found wailing, he must also see that he delivers and ensure that the majesty of law is upheld, and people will start respecting him for delivering even as an opposition leader.
Yeah.
And that is what pulls you into a higher league. Instead of being an opposition leader, you become a material that is long term, that you are seen as a long term chief ministerial material, prime ministerial material. And that is what Mr. Fadnavis would do. I would appeal to your channel, if he's watching this program, that he must take it all these matters to the court. Yes, he has exposed to the public, but the next logical step, he alone can take it, because the courts in Maharashtra, I must say, would listen to somebody of that gravitas only. They are not going to listen to, say, Meena or MR Venkatesh. If we go and stand before them, it is important, and if he has to walk the talk, he has to take it to the logical conclusion.
Also, most importantly, a very shocking event happened last week, which was the key witness to Aryan Khan's case. Died, they say, of heart attack, but we all know there is hanky panky behind it, because he was only 35, and there were many people who wanted him dead. And this is something that BJP never raised. So this is something that
And it
Fadnavis
is
should have
great,
taken up so strongly.
and it is Shiv Sena which has taken it up.
Yeah.
It is Shiv Sena and NCP which has taken it up very strongly. They said they will probe into his death also. I have not got any news about the post-mortem report. I have not seen the post-mortem report. Uh, of course, the jury is still out. Post-mortems are post-mortems. We saw in
How it can be fudged.
SSR case. Yeah, SSR case. We have seen in Sunanda Pushkar case. We have seen that all these cases, even the post-mortem reports are of not of pristine quality. They are of doubtful integrity. So we have to take it with a pinch of salt, even if it is proved that he died of a heart attack, which is what is alleged at this point in time. But having said this, I don't know how could such a person who was a key witness in such a very important case, why is it that the NCB did not record his statement under 164? It is very important. All these statements must have
And
been
why can't they
recorded.
protect a witness?
And you can't protect everybody every time. So all that the courts have to do is key witness, record his 164 statement, so that becomes a very important piece of evidence in any eventuality. So that after which he of course he's a witness, he has to come to the court, he can be crossed, other thing. But the 164 statement would be a far better option in my view. But anyhow, there will be other ways, there will be other evidences, there will be other things to be pushed for. I hope this matter also. See, I'm not here to pray for somebody's blood or to be punished. Justice must be done. We must uphold the law. Whether it's Shah Rukh Khan's son or Shah Rukh Khan's servant, I don't care. All that I require is, if the guy has been violating or contravening the provisions of the narcotics law, he must be punished. And if he is found to be acting within the four walls of law, yeah, we can forget it. We can go move forward. But these type of things, and if witnesses are getting eliminated, I think we are in a serious trouble, and we must go to the root of the matter. I think NCB also does see to that the postmortem report is a genuine one, and if he has died of the heart attack, we can't do much about it. It's the way of the Lord. But if there is any foul play, it must be again taken to a logical conclusion.
See, what happens is here, they will just pay their relatives, hush up the case, as they have been doing for so long, and life will just go on. Now, Emma, the man who's been talking about values and morals and all that. We're talking about Sanjay Raut. His property is worth 11.5 crores in the 1,034 crore land scam, has
Yeah.
been confiscated by the ED. Now, look at the man. He's the one who's been talking about morals right from the start. And then he was also caught for attacking a lady, and that lady has been fighting him ever since. So, in every way, this man has absolutely nothing to talk about.
I have named Sanjay Raut as Sanjay Lout. Okay, he is okay. He is he is a disgrace to politicians. Basically, politicians themselves are not so high up there in the nobility pecking order, but this man takes the cake and is like Abuban Adam in the loud list. I don't know what to say of him, but this guy, I'm told, is involved in a 1,000 crore scam. That is what the ED says today, of which 11 crores of some money has been attached this morning by the ED. 11.5 crores, if I remember correctly. Now, yeah, the grapevine is that he will be facing the chin music of the ED very shortly, and he will become a special guest of the ED probably a couple of days from now. That is what we are given to understand. Of course, strange are the ways of the Lord and the ED. They may let him go also. But I have one simple observation to make. People who are invariably corrupt are the people who are the loudest when it comes to TV cameras. So their decibel level is directly proportional to their level of corruption. So, and Sanjay Raut was having a very high decibel level.
Yes.
So you can infer from what I say about what could be the follow up on this.
Yeah.
So once again, I think that ED should not use this as a bargaining chip politically. There has been allegation of serious fraud on some redevelopment matter on which this Sanjay Raut is supposed to have got 11 crores when the scam is worth 1,000 odd crores. So they must go and recover every penny of it. I'm sorry. Yeah, this is what I would conclude on this matter.
Yeah. Happy and Hopeful is asking, please ask Hema sir, whom Bakri Khan went and met in Delhi, hiding under the jumbo umbrella that changed the direction of the Aryan case. What a brilliant way of putting it.
See, I don't know who, Happy and Hopeful, that's the name given here.
Yeah. These are just
So,
names they put here.
yeah,
And
fair enough. Fair enough, fair enough. So I don't know whom he met, but he did come to Delhi, and you don't come to meet Delhi to meet MR Venkatesh. You come to Delhi to meet somebody very high up in the political hierarchy, some very senior officers. You come and meet them, you explain your case, you try to get, and in my view, I think if any father does it, there is nothing wrong in it. Let me be very clear about it. If he's pleading his case, if his son is wrongly arrested or something, he pleads his case as a father. I think every father would do it, every mother would do it. I have no issues on that because it is nothing prohibited under law. What would be prohibited is if the gentleman whom he has approached, knowing very well that Mr. Aryan Khan, son of so and so, has violated the law and uses his office to direct NCB to dilute the case, that I think would be sacrilege. And if this had happened, if this has happened as you fear and you are hinting at and alluding to, I think that would be a very shameful thing. It is not Mr. Khan who has committed a perfidy. It is the person whom he has met. And if that person has diluted the case, then it is perfidy.
that the case has been diluted is very clear because Samir Wankade got shifted to another department. So a lot of things have happened after that. We all know what's happened. And as you say, there are people in the party who are very closely linked to the Khan and since years of friendship. So there are lots of things that would have happened behind doors.
Meena, there is a Sanskrit slogan in this. Ashwam neva, gajam neva, vyagram neva cha ajagaputram balim dattvam devadam durlabam hashyam. Something roughly translated. The king wanted to start an Ashwamedha yajna. He asked, Bali dena hai, kisko bali dena hai? So some blighter said, Ashwam, give the horse itself. Then the king said, if I give the horse, what will I do with the Ashwamedha yajna? Horse, neighbor. Ashwam, neighbor. Then some blighter said, Gajam, elephant. I said, Ajay, how can you go and kill an elephant? Such a majestic animal. We can't do that. Then somebody said, tiger. So there is a double emphasis. Tiger, naivacha, naivacha. Ashwam naiva, gajam naiva, vyagram naivacha, naivacha. What you will give bali of the tiger? Tiger will give bali of you. Then all the pandits there came to a conclusion. The best fellow to give bali is Ajahaputram balim dattam. That is the lamb, the baby lamb. Slaughter the baby lamb. Then even the lords are happy with that because you are given a durlab, you are given a bali. So in the government it is said, secretary neiva, joint secretary neiva, under secretary neiva. It is only some postman or some dawali or somebody who will be told that you are kicked. Likewise, in any fraud, in any event, media, you, me, intellectuals, social activists, all of us can cry horse. But in this country, we have never able to punish any person of some significant standing except for probably Jayalalitha, Sasikala and Lalu Yadav. Others can easily get away with their connections in Bollywood, cricket, politics, media, bureaucracy, judiciary, they can get away. Law is only for very, very ordinary people and one or two middle class people. That's all. Otherwise, law in this country is only for textbooks.
Okay. Moving to another piece of news. Government blocks 18 Indian, 4 Pakistani YouTube channels for spreading misinformation on India's foreign relations, national security, including Ukraine war. On Tuesday, the Press Information Bureau released a notice regarding the blockage of these channels. And one Facebook account, 3 Twitter accounts, and 1 website, which were continuously engaged in a misinformation campaign against India with a malicious intent. The collective viewership of these channels was 260 crores. According to the ministry, these channels were engaged in an active fake news campaign against India and published fictitious reports of India participating in a war with other countries. Reports from these channels were being actively shared on social media, where they selectively chose to write on subjects sensitive from the perspective of national security, Indians' foreign relations, and public order. As this goes on, Imad, meanwhile, this lady who's been caught as a scamster, Rana Ayub, the court has been very kind to her and said that her father and mother perhaps need this kind of money. We're talking about crores, and look at what the
And
court
they said only 10 or 12 crores. Okay, the word is only. It is not only 1 or 2 rupees. It is only 10 or 12 crores. And anybody who is an adult will have an aged father and mother. It is impossible that my father and mother are in kindergarten when I am before you as a 50 or old man. It is impossible. My father and mother will be at least 80. So I don't know what is happening to the judiciary. I don't know what is happening this country. Sometimes the morals of this country. I can say that look, this lady wants to go. It's a fundamental right. I don't want to interfere at this stage. Let me be fair to the investigation. She will present herself within 15 days. Let me allow her to go because you can't suspend the fundamental rights of a person even as she is to face the probe. Since you have called her and since she has not appeared, let her appear before you for two days and let her leave. Or if it is an emergency, let her go and we will take an assurance from her that she will come back within 15 days. Period. Why do you go about into the merits of the case and say that 10, 12 crores he had? If this is what the media said, I'm only basing my response to what the media said. I'm not privy to the order. I have not seen it. So, coming to this point about Rana Ayub, it's a very disturbing order, I would say. With due respect to the court, they should be very careful that I have I hold no brief for her. I have no bill for the petitioners. or the department also. I only say that in these type of circumstances, people must be allowed to go. But ED is also overdoing its part. Let us be very clear. Just because you're not gone for a summon, you cannot suspend somebody's travel. This is the rule of the law, rule of law. Nowadays ED is becoming absolutely corrosive, and they just go berserk at the slightest chance. I think the ED is also to play with some restraints in a game of called the Constitution. Send summons. The summons, according to her, should not be delivered. They must make it to be delivered. And after all, she owns the Indian passport, and she cannot get away from any corner of the world. And she must be told that she must come back within 15 days. And very clearly, her parents are here, her property is here, and you cannot stop people from traveling just because you have filed an FIR or an ECIR. So, Rana's case, I would suggest that the court has come to the right conclusion, but on a wrong reasoning. I would have been happy with a better reasoning, but as I said, due respect to the court, we all go to the court with all humility as to what they say is accepted. And you are asking about something else, Meena, before you shifted to Rana.
Yes, and about this, we're talking about the channels, the YouTube channels. See here,
Oh, yeah.
one thing, Imar, is that, see, as noted in the press release, the blocked YouTube channels were using templates and identities of popular TV news channels, including images of the news anchors to mislead the viewers for being authentic. Among the channels blocked in the action include ARP News, AOP News, LDC News, Sarkari Babu, SS Zone, Hindi Online Khabar, and News 23 Hindi, among others. And Pakistani Twitter accounts, namely Gulam Nabi Madni, Dunya Meri Agi, and Hakikat TV, were blocked. So look at the way
Okay,
they are misleading.
I hope Candid Meena is not in the list. Okay.
I will run to you for protection.
Yeah, we will go to the court. Don't worry about it, and that will be done. Don't worry about it. Now coming to this issue, Meena, this is we have gone beyond print media, electronic media. Now is the day of the YouTube channels. It is the YouTube channels that are becoming more popular, and you are one of the pioneers in this, because this is not the alternative news, as I call it. This is the real media now. This is the voice of the people. This is the voice of people who want to hear what exactly neutral people are talking about. People had a fetish for people who were ideologically slanted. That's acceptable, but people also want to hear from experts on neutral channels. People don't want to be shouted out. People don't want to be participating in tutu mame. People don't want to be watching frivolous debates, abusive languages, coarse behaviors. People want to sit and listen to all these things very gently, calmly, and understand a viewpoint. They may disagree. For instance, in your channel, it's not that all your viewers are going to agree with me. Sometimes I see people don't agree with me. Fair enough. But they want to watch it for a simple reason. They want to listen to the viewpoint. That is what is YouTube coming into. So the government has no legislation or rules or regulation to regulate these YouTube channels, because you and I can be sitting in India talking about Sri Lankan economics, and what can Sri Lanka do to us except probably ban? And ban in this circumstances, it's going to be very difficult, because technology is so powerful. If you ban me here, I can ban it. What if I have a Chinese mobile with an Australian SIM card, which allows me to use on various places? So if I start downloading it and do it, very difficult for you to actually block it or regulate it. So beyond technology also. So let me summarize this as follows. First, you get a proper regulation for YouTube channels, strict do's and strict don'ts. Two, you have to fortify your scientific or technological prowess so that you block such people from spreading hate or spreading something against the government of the day. The third thing is very important. You also allow people who actually do good job like your channel to flourish. So when you drive good, the bad will take its place. This is Grisham's law of economics. When good is driven out of circulation, bad will take its place. This is economic and fundamental common sense. When channels like yours are not encouraged by the establishment, you will have nonsense channels finding its way to the gutter, and that is what is happening in this country. So my solution to this problem, apart from point number one and point number two, is please, those who are watching this from the establishment, support these people. And if you are not supporting, then you will have to do all the one and two. One and two comes in because you are not doing three. If three is there, if good food is available, good music is available, good views are available, people will watch you full time. Okay, and they will watch these type of channels. But if you don't do this, people automatically will go to those type of cutter channels. And this is what is the unwritten. How much ever law you write, you will have to use discretion, bureaucratic discretion, administrative discretion to allow these channels to flourish. If you don't do it, you are the villain, not anybody else.
But that will happen when you are able to take criticism in a healthy way, you know. And
That is what.
yeah, and I'm not talking about
So
Modi.
if you're
So
going to have,
there will be people who are, who don't mind listening. But there are people who sit in
see,
these
if you're going,
offices, and they'll say that Candid Meena is talking, about our government like this. I don't think we should promote it. You see, so this also happens.
see, there is used to be a habit of having a single, what shall I say, a single person in a court in yesteryears who would be called upon to talk anything and everything. He's a license to ridicule everybody, including the king, and no punishment for it. So slyly and very wittily, he would go to the king and tell him, "This is what you are doing is wrong."
Hmm.
So there was a mechanism by which the king would have his criticism reach him, even if other avenues are failing or don't operate. In a democracy, the most important thing is to give your ears, lend your ears to those who are your critics. And if your well-wishers are bringing out criticism, it's all the more important that you stand by them, listen to them in full. You cannot, let me tell you, you cannot dismiss if Candid Meena or MR Venkatesh speaks or criticizes something about government. It is incumbent of this government to give it a billion time weightage to listen to what we are saying, because ultimately we are the biggest supporters of this government. If my mother tells me something or my wife tells me something, I listen to them very carefully, because they don't criticize me, they want me to improve. They tell me in all earnestness, in all sincerity. If we are not able to distinguish this fundamental fact, I think this, whosoever it is, he or she is basically immature, and I have nothing more to say.
See, something, MR. Recently, we've been talking a lot about, including Bhagavad Gita in schools, and introducing Sanskrit in a very, a sort of forceful manner in schools. And when Himachal Pradesh recently, just a day back, said that they are making it compulsory in schools, we were so happy, because at least see, perhaps our voices are being heard, and this was something that really made us immensely happy. And it is not a selfish happiness. It is happiness that our youngsters will become better in future. So if these points are taken, whatever you say or whatever other eminent people say, it's important that they improve day by day.
See, improvement can come even when your worst of enemies criticize you. You can improve. If you are able to distinguish between the personality and the issue on hand, you really start growing the moment you start absorbing whatever comes to you as an issue. But it requires a greater mind, it requires a greater thought process. Very rarely I have seen politicians able to very rarely I have seen politicians able to stomach this
Criticism.
criticism or even counter ideas. Probably they think they have reached a stage where they
They're
are the
above
lord of
everything.
all this. Probably some psyche problem. So I would only, but there is one yet another thing which I would like to say. This was told to me by my teacher Gurumurthy ji only told me this, which I will repeat. Once we were discussing about advice, and I asked him, when do you advise your corporate clients and how do you advise it? He said very interestingly, and he quoted Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, verse 63. Lord says, Arjuna, whatever I have told you, I have told you. Now you take a decision. You ask me all questions. In chapter 11, he shows his cosmic form. Even then, Arjuna goes and asks so many questions. All the Bhakti Marga, Jnana Marga, Karma Marga, all these things he has explained. 18 chapters, everything he has explained. But he doesn't say go and fight the war. He says you fight the war because you have to, you take a decision whether you want to fight the war or you don't want to. The choice is entirely yours. Likewise, when we also say something about the government, we also should not be bothered whether somebody is listening or hearing
Yeah,
or acting or not.
absolutely.
We must be irrelevantly equidistant, distant from what is the government doing. We believe that this is good for the government, good for BJP, good for the country, good for our fellow citizens. We have said it in all humility. We must stop it. We need not worry about whether the government follows, congratulates us, accepts us, recognizes us. I think we should move beyond this and
Yeah,
start doing our own job. That's
absolutely.
all. I reached a stage where I don't look at who is
Yeah,
praising you or who is not praising you. In fact,
yeah.
many of the times people say I'm too haughty on Twitter that I don't reply. I said I don't reply because very simple. I get into a war. I don't want to. Whatever I say, I have said. That's
Yeah.
all. And if you want to enter into a private dialogue with me, many people know my number. You know my DM. You know my WhatsApp number. Talk to me. Pick up the phone and talk to me. I will talk to you. Otherwise, Jairamji.
There's a question that Astro Deep is persistently asking. But Andhra has made Urdu a second language instead of Sanskrit or Tulu. People in Andhra will have to learn to understand and work.
So what is that needs to be done?
She's troubled by
What it
that.
needs.
She's troubled because she's saying that Sanskrit and all. She agrees with us, but see, a lot of emphasis is being given to the peacefuls there.
Okay. See, the answer is very simple. Uh, this will happen. This will happen because a section of the politician, especially south of India, still believe that the minority votes, Muslim Christian votes, if they consolidate with one caste vote, is enough to take them over 40%. Andhra, I think, must be 20-25% Christian population now. Add the Muslim population and the Reddy population, I am sure Jagan Reddy will be permanently chief minister for his life. It's very difficult to break that combination because Reddy is a good number, then the Christians, and Jagan Reddy is a Christian. Jagan Reddy plus the Reddys plus the Muslim population make a heady cocktail politically. So one thing is to lament about it. But if you look at it, exactly the opposite is happening across the India. I was in Rishikesh yesterday and day before, and I was rafting in River Ganga, and people were shouting and hailing Ma Gange ki Jai. I have no issues on that. I perfectly agree. But they went forward and said Bharat Mata ki Jai. They said Vande Mataram, which I would not have seen say 10 years back. So this is having both a cause and an effect. Now, the more the politicians are going to push for minority appeasement and try to consolidate the minorities, there is a Hindu consolidation also happening. This morning, I'm told, in deep down in Tirunelveli, which is probably 100 kilometers north of Kanyakumari, we are talking about the southernmost tip of Tamil Nadu, where a politician has, an actor in a movie has torn a saffron robe. The people in the theater have gone berserk.
Oh,
Okay, so these are things that are happening across the country. So there is a Hindu Jagaran happening, Hindu consciousness is coming forth, Hindu unity is coming forth. People are absolutely conscious of the fact that the Hindu political power has to be consolidated. Now, that was in fact, that was what I summed up on 10th March before Arnab Goswami. When he asked me at around 10:30, 10:40, when the election results were all over, he asked me, MR, what do you think about the election? I said, Prime Minister is a charismatic person. BJP has a huge electoral machinery. BJP has funds. They manage their booth excellently. But besides all these things, the fact that they have done their welfare schemes, they have delivered fairly well on governance, all these are a given. And there are certain shortcomings in the BJP. But on the overarching basis, one thing that makes it impossible and irreversible is the fact that the voters have turned significantly Hindutva-vadis. That's the fact of the matter. So, your Urdu in Andhra is discomforting. Your Urdu language in Bengal is discomforting. It is not discomforting because Urdu is something that is an alien language. No, Urdu is part of Indian culture. Let us accept about it. 300, 400 years, we have lived with Urdu. But to propagate Urdu religion because it is of a denominational order is what I'm objecting to. Urdu is one of the most beautiful languages. And I am one of those who believes every language is beautiful because it has an inbuilt culture and civilization between. So we need to cherish Urdu as much we cherish, say, Tamil or Bengali or Telugu. But if we are going to cherish Urdu, because we say that this belongs to a particular denomination, and we want to address that denomination by saying that this will be our second language and we start protecting this language, I think that is not acceptable to this modern India.
yeah.
India has reached a stage which you can't. I was thinking to myself whether a judgment like Shah Banu judgment in 1980s is possible in 2022 by the Supreme Court. No way it is possible. Supreme Court will not only say that this is exactly what is to be done, but will go a step forward and say that you can't amend it. This is a basic structure or something like that. They would not allow any amendment to come in. So point I'm making is today we are reaching a stage and a threshold in our nation building process where this type of question would not have come say 15 years back. In fact, this type of question about Urdu being brought in would not have been asked 15 years back. Today you're asking a question itself tells me that this is a very serious, very appreciative point that you are able to understand the difference between the language being promoted for political purposes. Kudos to you.
Also, another question before we move on to the main another piece of news. I don't know whether MR you saw that all these top Bollywood actors were making a beeline for the Saudi Arabian minister who was in India recently,
Yeah.
and everybody doing their adabs and all that, all sorts of with their hands, whatever they do, and giving him a lot of importance, and he was also giving them a lot of importance. What do you think is the motive behind that, MR?
See, Bollywood has its soul in Saudi. Let us be clear about it. Bollywood may be Indian in outwardly connections, but its soul is in Saudi Arabia or in the Arabic world or in the Islamic world.
Gulf states.
Gulf or even put it in Mecca. I would
Yeah.
put it very bluntly. Soul is in Mecca.
Yeah.
The some of the dialogues, some of the character portrayals, especially in the 80s, 90s, and probably early 2000s, you would invariably see the villain being a person who would sport a red tilak. There would be virtually very less of people who would be either of Islam or Christianity would be chief villains. If at all, they would be sidekicks. And you remember the days of Pran and those years, Ajit, who would call Robert. The Robert was basically a sidekick or a villain, nothing more, a small villain. The point I'm trying to emphasize is Bollywood has been deracinated from Hindu culture, Hindu ethos. It has always ridiculed India. It has at best lampooned Indian traditions and cultures. Except you will find the diya being lighted on Diwali. Never you will see crackers being busted. In Holi, it is basically to molest women or tease women rather than look into the sanctity of the function. So Bollywood has been doing its very best because of it's basically, if you peel the onions, and I will say one thing very bluntly. To me, Bollywood is a huge money laundering exercise of the Dawoods and other terrorists. Unfortunately, ED and CBI have not been able to nail on this fundamental fact. If you cleanse the source of funding, just like Tamil movie is funded by ultra nationals and terrorists from say Sri Lanka and across the various world who would like to exploit every fault line. Bollywood likewise is a money laundering vehicle of various terrorists and various terrorists use. So unless a proper investigation is done, you cut the source of funding. You see that the directors are properly investigated, story makers, lyricists, all properly investigated. You will find each one of them having the roots to Saudi Arabia. Hence, this beeline to anybody who comes from Saudi Arabia. After all, it's their Maibab. It is after all the people who are funded, the people who are funding them, who are keeping their kitchen going. So this is a challenge for us, that the Bollywood, which exports the culture, the soft power of India, is not in the hands of Indians. We always pride on soft culture, and we believe that this is a very big instrumentalities of state. In fact, you will not you will be surprised. Arnab Goswami's debate on Ukraine versus Russia is viewed in China big time. Okay, so we have that power. We have the power of language, debate, all these things. So Bollywood is our asset. Unfortunately, it is not in our hands. The Kashmir Files, the RRR movies, all tells us what is that the Bollywood is lacking. And this point that you raised, Mina, about Bollywood lining up before a Saudi personality coming from Saudi Arabia and making a beeline for his on his tour. He exposes the link, umbilical cords is somewhere there. So we have to get to the root of the matter. It's a big job for the terrorists, for the anti-terrorists, anti-money laundering, anti other activities, and NIA to look into it. Follow the money, you will get them.
In another very important point, which is something that I think all of us knew, Black Lives Matters. These leaders secretly buy a property worth 6 million in California, and they fail to explain the financial gap in donations received. Allies and critics alike of Black Lives Matters have raised questions about the properties purchased by the leaders of BLM. You saw about the Patrice Cullors, Alicia Garza, and Melina Abdullah in California. They affirmed that the three had secretly purchased properties worth 6 million in the year 2020 in cash out of the money that was donated to the Black Lives Matters global network. In October 2020, the foundation received the total donation of 66.5 million during the protests after George Floyd's death. 2 weeks later, a man named Dwayne Pascal bought a house and registered the document in his name. Pascal, who is the financial manager for Janaya and Patrice Consulting, a limited liability company run by Cullors and her spouse, further transferred the ownership of the house to the LLC established in Delaware by the law firm Perkins Coie. The transaction was never recorded. According to the reports, the house secretly purchased by the three is more than 6,500 square feet and has half a dozen bedrooms and bathrooms, several fireplaces, a sound stage, a pool, and a bungalow. The real estate listings also mention that the property has parking for more than 20 cars. So look at the way they have fooled the public of America.
You know, this is Tista Setalwad Redux.
Yeah.
Okay.
Huh.
This is Rana Ayub Redux.
Yeah.
And only thing Californian court has to do is to say only $6 million. You know? Okay. The point here is
Exactly. Yes, right comparison.
I don't know which is the origin, which is the duplicate. Whether poor people are following the Americans or the American liberals are following the Indian liberals. But the moral of the story is very simple: play on others' emotions, raise a pitch, raise money, and privatize that public money. This has been one of the most important SOPs of these liberals. That is why whenever somebody asks me to donate to a public cause, I would only donate it to certain places where I'm cocksure that the money is usually spent for the places where they are actually intended to spend. This that the American, sometimes I'm really wondering. American, we always say American intelligence of FBI, CIA, where their military intelligence, that this and all. Finally, there is something happening under their nose and they didn't know about it. Okay, and let me tell you, America is one country which is full of buffoons. Then they invested for 70 years in a country called Pakistan, and none of the prime ministers ever completed their term. And today, Pakistan is accusing America of destabilizing Pakistan. So that is the level is now. Today, India is not hyphenated with Pakistan. It is America which is hyphenated with Pakistan. And shame on American intelligence for having bred this snake called Pakistan. And now finally the snake has come to hit them. Now coming to this issue, this is something very, very instructive for all of us. That the liberals exploit the emotions and they are only adept at that. The black lives do matter. But the organization which said that they are going to fight on behalf of black lives have actually scooted with this money. Unless, and of course, as you said, this has come out and I also read in the papers, I didn't follow it up. This is the worst form of breach of trust that one can ever see. And this is what is precisely what Tista was doing. This is what precisely Rana is accused of doing. This is what several of these liberals in India are accused of doing. This, I think, must be taken to task. Again, judiciary, administration will not find enough time and they will have so much of spaces in their hearts that they will say it's only 10 to 12 crores. They have aged mother, they have to go abroad, they have a standing, and people like me also will argue that look, this is a fundamental right. You cannot touch them, they should allow to go, because that is what we are all trained to do, and we all think liberally. We are the true liberals. But the fact of the matter is, we must identify these people and not touch them with a barge pole in public life. That is the truest form of punishment that we, the society, we, the people of India, can give it to them. And unless they are boycotted at media levels, at even social media, people, why do you follow Rana? You don't follow, you come out of it. You tell that in disgust, we don't trust you, we don't follow you. You walk out of our Facebook, you walk out of our Instagram, you do this and send a message. You may say that how does she care if I singularly do? It's one person you do and announce it to the world. You see several people doing it. Convert it to a mass movement. Boycott them. Boycott at every place. Why do people, I don't know, in the flights they go and hug these people, take a selfie, and then go on Twitter and lament that these guys are doing this? I can't fathom it. If you want to have any selfie, have it with Meena. She will jolly well accept it and post it in Instagram or Twitter. But this is ridiculous. We want their fame, but we don't want to do this. This cannot be done. I have seen several celebrities doing this. I would only say boycott them whichever way. That is the best punishment we can give.
A candid question next, Emma. There's a big similarity between these stand-up comedians. You're talking about the Chief Minister of Punjab, and then you're talking about the President of Ukraine. And also, though he's not a stand-up comedian, Biden also has very similar qualities. What makes these people leaders?
See, we have to respect democracy. the people of Punjab, in all their earnestness, have voted for Shriman. And in true spirit of democracy, I would not criticize him for the first 100 days. I would like to wait and watch and see how much he does and what he doesn't do. Of course, his habits are a bit discomforting and troubling. But I can tell you with some authority of personal knowledge of certain leaders, alcohol has been part of their bloodstream post 6 p.m. Several politicians we can't name because it will not be appropriate. So, by it may be morally and even to some extent it may repugnant to the normal civic life. But in Punjab, drinking is a part of day-to-day culture. With due respects to Punjabis, those who don't drink, they would be in a minority than those who drink. And that is a state where drinking is supposed to be a lesser evil than, say, drugs. Because drugs is so rampant, one doesn't know what really hits the state. So my only point or yardstick about the performance of the chief minister would be how much is he able to deliver on the drugs front? How much is he able to pull the state out of the fiscal morass? How much of law and order he's able to maintain? So sensitive border state, how much is he able to cooperate with the center and the intelligence agencies? Of course, by this time he would have been part of the intelligence grid, and they would have briefed and debriefed him, and they would have told him the do's and the not. So the system is there in place. He has, of course, some leeway. So I'm not so much bothered about the fact that he's a drunkard, but I'm very worried whether he will be delivering. And if he delivers, I have no complaints. I think fairly we must give it that whether a person that's his personal habit. What I do after my office hours is none of your botheration. I think that private space must be given up. As long as it doesn't come drunk to any public or any important government function, I think that is not a very big yardstick. But we must give him 100 days to see, a minimum of 100 days, ideally 6 months to see what is he performing.
Candid question from Savitri Srinivas. So she says that, what is your opinion about Dr. Swami?
Okay. Now, I am very candid about this. Don't read anything in between the lines. I have never seen a person who is so knowledgeable on economics. Okay. Now, the man has probably, at this point in time in 2022, is the only living connection with the tumultuous years of the 70s and the 80s. I had a long discussion with him somewhere 6 to 8 months back. One evening, he was in a pensive mood. So I asked him, how did he come back to India despite being a doctorate from Harvard at the age of 24? He gave me a long story, and the man in 1969 had drawn a Swadeshi plan, which is called as the Atmanirbhar plan and other things, about which he spoke. He spoke about nuclear energy in 1969. He spoke about so many other things that day evening. I was flabbergasted that the man has so much of understanding about India. Having said that, let me tell you, the man has his own, like everybody has, his own idiosyncrasies, his own shortcomings, his own ideas, his own, shall I say, likes, dislikes. But I have never seen him. If he has if he says I support Russia, for instance, he will have a strong basis for it. If he says I support Ukraine, he has a strong basis for it. He is nobody's man, he is his own man. That is his problem also, because he's an intellectual giant that we are having. It is unfortunate many of us are not having the intellectual ability to even appreciate, much less understanding. So I would at best not evaluate Swami. I have nobody to evaluate Swami. I would only go to him as a student. Always I have found that his sense of economics is phenomenal. Yeah, we do talk about politics somewhere down the line, a few minutes here and there. and I find it frankly that I am not able to understand his politics. His politics is beyond many people's understanding in Delhi. He has his own way of doing politics, and he has lived with it, and he will continue to live with it. I'm assuring he will continue to live with it. So I will not talk about Swami the politician. If you want to ask any questions about Swami the economist, I can probably tell you he is one of the best finance ministers we never had.
Kritika is asking, please, Veena, talk about Kerala Hindus. Everyone is ignoring them. So what she means is that they're being marginalized in jihadi Kerala.
See, Kerala Hindus, and to some extent Hindus in Tamil Nadu, and to some further extent, I would say in Telangana and in Andhra, are finding uh, it is really a tough going for them. But you must understand that we have a choice of lamenting or the choice of fighting back. That my saying that Hindus are a lost cause or a gone cause in Kerala would be doing a great disservice to hundreds of RSS Karyakartas, Hindu people who have fought and laid down their life. A single sentence that demoralizes the Hindus is the worst tribute that we can give it to those who have laid down their life. They are not given a life for us to say there is no hope. On the contrary, Kerala is the land, if I have to say, the last 5,000 years, if there is somebody, the greatest of Hindu, the greatest of Indian who has come from any part of the country, it has been Adi Shankara from Kerala. And Adi Shankara comes at a time when Hinduism had no hope. Not only in Kerala, but all over India. It is Adi Shankara within the age of 32, by just 32 years of age. Adi Shankara revives Hinduism, puts India on a glorious path that she continues. So I would say, yes, this is a temporary setback. Yes, Hindus are facing a tough time. But I know it is a land of Adi Shankara. So I may be going back and forth in the sense that I know for a fact that we will win. But I am also conscious we will not win if we are supinely indifferent to the happenings around us.
Yeah, exactly.
I know for a fact only the paranoid survive. I know for a fact that we have to fight back. And we should fight back, and we must fight back within the four corners of law. And if this is what is happening, I am sure within the next 16, 20 years, Kerala will be the destination point for Hinduism. Remember, those who are in Kerala, those the jihadis or communists are all Indians, and they are misguided people. It's a matter of time we bring them back to the fold, and it is eminently possible by us. As I said, the country is turning Hindutva. The country is turning Hindutva irrevocably. Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra, Telangana, it's only a matter of time. The sequencing will go up and down. UP has turned, Gujarat has turned in 2000, UP has turned in 2020. In between, probably Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan have all turned. Himachal Pradesh has turned, Uttarakhand has turned, Delhi has turned. So it's a matter of time that Rajasthan, probably Jharkhand and all will turn. Bengal is turning. So you see that this is happening. Northwest has turned virtually Hindutva. So this is all happening right in front of our own eyes in our own lifetime. So don't have the sense of despondency. See, ask a positive question. What should Hindus do better? This would give all the viewers a better sense of, at the end of the day, we had a very peaceful discussion thanks to the host. We should all go home with a sense of hope rather than a sense of despair. So, yes, there is a sense of alienation. There is a sense of, being lost. But all is not lost. Kerala Hindus are fighting back, and they are fighting back tremendously well. Can you just visualize the number of women who came on the streets of the Ayyappa movement?
Yeah.
Phenomenal. You could not have seen any other part of the country where women came for a temple in which they are not allowed. Can you ever see that type of response in Gujarat or Tamil Nadu or UP or Bengal? Go to any part of the country. That is the time I decided that yes, this is a society which is absolutely alive. Yeah, BJP doesn't make Kerala less of a Hindu state. Please understand that Kerala BJP, it is the fault of the BJP, not of the people. And yeah, there is a huge law and order issues there. That is a matter that we will settle it shortly, and I'm sure our sacrifices of our brothers and sisters will not go in waste, and we will fight it back.
Also, RSS were the people who, found out and termed love jihad. They have rescued
Yeah,
so many women
the new
from
movies,
love jihad.
and those of you may not know, Kashmir story is coming where 30,000 jihadi girls, love jihad girls are missing, and they have made a story out of it. They have made a movie out of it. It's going to be the next super duper hit next to Kashmir Files.
Thank you so much for this wonderful session, Emma. As usual, every point you've covered so well, and I'm sure the viewers have enjoyed it a lot. And we look forward to another session with you next week. Thank you so much. Good
Thank you,
night.
Meena. Thank you. It's a pleasure coming in your channel, and I hope your channel is not blocked for talking the truth.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.